got her evicted, but they caused physical harm to her baby.
Come to order, all rise.
This case number 39 on the calendar in the matter of Bishop versus Schultz. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
Ms. Bishop, you and your family were renters in a 4-unit complex, according to what I read in your complaint. The other 3 apartments or condos were occupied by owners.
Right.
And it is your claim that the defendants did several things. First, they told untruths to the cooperative association and therefore your landlord.
Yes.
Causing you to be evicted.
Yes.
And next, you allege that the defendants, one or both of them, put needles in your laundry which got into your baby's pajamas, which caused injury to the baby.
But
shh, shh. And you want to be compensated.
Yes, ma'am.
I assume that they did not put any needles in your laundry on purpose. If needles got into the laundry because Mrs. Schultz is a diabetic,
yes,
does use needles.
No.
Doesn't use needles.
No.
Okay. Interesting. And in addition, that whatever statements they made to the landlord, your landlord, were true, and if you were evicted, it was because of your own conduct. That's their defense. I just want to check something. Well, I'm reading your answer, Mr. Schultz, and your answer says, my wife is diabetic, and when the plaintiff's husband brought the lancets to me...
There's a difference between lancets and needles.
Oh, okay, lancets.
Okay, yes.
So I used the wrong word.
Used
Lancets.
Lancets.
When plaintiff's husband brought lancets to me, he said he found them in the washer. My wife is diabetic, but they did not look like the lancets my wife used. So we're using a different term.
Right,
Needles,
right. Well, there is
lancets.
a difference between lancets and needles.
Okay. When did you move in, Mrs. Bishop, with your family?
August of '03.
And how many members were there in your family?
3, myself, my husband, and my baby.
How old is your baby?
1 year and 4 months.
Did you have trouble with Mr. and Mrs. Schultz or any of the other neighbors when you moved in?
Just the Schultz. No, the other neighbors were very kind and friendly, normal neighbors.
What happened with Mr. and Mrs. Schultz?
I think the first month or 2 was fine. We were friends.
Well, actually, it was...
I didn't ask you anything yet.
Mr. Schultz was very kind and helpful, showing us where the things were, telling us how things ran around there, like he was the
That was the
landlord.
first month or 2?
First month or 2. I understood from the neighbor in number 2, Tammy.
Don't tell me anything that a neighbor told you.
Okay, I understood she needed a kidney. So I went up and offered her a kidney and asked her what blood type she was. She said she was blood type AB. And we talked about it.
So, it's good.
To my best recollection. Anyways,
Go ahead.
So, just things started happening where the laundry problems. They parked in a, his truck is very big, it's a Bronco, and it's blocked our space. When we moved in, we asked him several times to please move it. We can't get our car in the garage. Here's a violation that was written on my car because his car was parked in my space, so I had to scoot my car over the line. So I was ticketed because they called on me after we asked them to move the car and complained to the landlord.
Mr. Schultz, did you and the plaintiff and or her husband ever have a conversation with... Could you stand up and take your hand off your head?
I'm sorry.
Did you and the plaintiff or her husband ever have a conversation with regard to your truck encroaching on their parking space?
No, not...
Never.
No.
Never.
No.
Your Honor?
No.
And actually...
However, excuse me, Your Honor, however, though, I did quite a few times ask them if they could move their car over because I couldn't get into my car, and she is...
Now, just one second.
Okay.
So there was a problem.
There was a problem.
Now, when there was a problem, it was because their car was parked too close to the line, yet their car was parked within their lines. But you have a very large car, and in order for you to get in and out of your spot, you wanted them to move their car further over.
To the other line.
I understand. Your wife is answering the question, sir. I mean, you know, I understand. She understands what I'm saying. You may want to give me a lot of baloney, but I'm not going to tolerate it. You asked them to move their car to the other side because you have a very large car and it was difficult for you to get in and out of your car. Is that a fair statement?
That would be a fair statement.
That's a fair statement. Okay. And what I assume happened is you parked it as close to the line as you possibly could. Is that what you're telling me?
Not necessarily, but
Not necessarily. Let me see the pictures.
Here's-
I'm 10 steps ahead of you, sir.
There's a picture
I'm
of
10
his
steps
Bronco,
ahead of you.
And here's the rules and regulations. that
Now,
you move.
fortunately, life's experience.
I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, well, in this case, you may not be.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Her former condo neighbors, Michelle and Perry Schultz, put needles into a laundry dryer, causing injury to her baby. Renee also claims the Schultzes lied to the landlord and got her evicted.
Let's get to the rest of the complaints that were made, because that's what you're alleging. Let's get there, and let's get there fast.
Okay.
And then we'll get to the Lancets.
Okay. I just.
What?
May I ask my
May
witness
I-
to come up and explain?
Absolutely. Who are you?
I'm her husband, Brett Bishop.
Okay, do you have the complaints?
No, we do not have the complaints.
Well, then
weren't-
how am I supposed to adjudicate that
we
part of
were
your
not
claim?
able to get them from our landlord in time.
Well, then, yeah, I have to strike that part of your claim.
Okay, then I have nothing in that regard.
Good, fine. And let's get to the needles incident.
I went out to get the baby's laundry out of the dryer. And
When was this?
January 29th. And found needles in the dryer. And I came back in the house and called my husband, and he told me that they might be hers because she's diabetic.
Okay. Do you have any of them with you?
Yes.
And this was before you put any clothes on the baby?
No.
What do you mean, no?
Similar of what the needles look like.
You see, what you state in your complaint is that your baby was uncomfortable, and the next morning you found needles in her pajamas. Then you went down to the laundry and you found needles. Now you tell me that on the 29th of January, you went down to the dryer and found needles in the dryer.
I got the needles out of the dryer, and I came back into the house and called the police.
Yes.
My husband came home at the same time,
Yes?
and he can pick it up from there.
The police officer went and spoke with Mrs. Schultz.
Listen to me. Were you there when the police officer spoke to Mrs. Schultz?
I was not in his presence. He spoke to her on her balcony. We waited in the house. He came down and told us what she said.
That's hearsay. I'll look at a police report if you have it.
Yeah, we have a police report. In that police report, she admits that the needles were hers. Sorry.
Now, according to the police report, I'm just telling you what the police report says.
Okay.
It says that you advised the police that the needles were left in your clothing by accident. I got it. What's next?
We have photographs of the needle, and we did not know that where the needle came from, where the scratches came from originally.
I don't know what scratches
So-
you're talking about, Matt. I have no clue as to what
The-
scratches
we
you're
found
talking
a
about.
needle later in my baby's diaper. After we phoned the police, we discovered that the scratches that were on her that were not on their
I have no idea what you're talking about, madam. I asked you, tell me about the incident involving the needles.
Okay.
And you told me on the 29th of January you found needles in the laundry. And now you're talking to me about scratches, and I have no clue as to what you're talking about.
On the 28th night, I put my baby to bed. In the morning when she woke up, my husband...
It was on the 9th.
What you tell me?
On the 9th, we put our baby to bed. I usually put the baby to bed, and she had no scratches to her labia area. She was very fussy that night. We thought she was teething. The next morning when I got up to take her to the nanny, I noticed when I was changing her, she had a dirty diaper, so I wiped her up, and I noticed that there were scratches to her vagina area. We have pictures.
What kind of diapers do you use?
Pampers.
Well, how could she have scratches to her vaginal area?
That's where we're getting at, is the whole reason why we're here is the needles that this lady put in our laundry somehow got into our baby's diaper, scratched up her labia. We have pictures to document that. We have pictures of the needles, and
Please.
our emergency room doctor
We dug through the diaper pail.
saw those.
We have a diaper pail we keep the diapers in, and after discussing with the officer and finding out the needles 2 weeks later that she has got scratched from, we assumed we better look through the old diapers that we keep in the pail, which we have pictures of the diaper pail and the needle in the dirty diaper. So that's how we didn't know where the scratches
But you
came
don't put
from.
diapers in the wash.
Where's she?
So we put 2 and 2 together and took her to the emergency room, and they wrote the report that needles stick to the labia. And they did the HIV test on her, hepatitis testing. And
So what you're telling me is, I mean, I don't know what these pictures show, madam. You're showing me a picture of a dirty diaper with a blue needle in it. Is that what you're showing me you found?
Yes.
I don't believe you. I don't believe that 2 weeks later you kept dirty diapers in a pail.
The baby goes to the nanny Monday through
Let
Friday
me explain
because I'm
something to you,
disabled.
madam. I do not believe that you kept dirty diapers in a pail from January 9th to January 30th. I don't believe it. It doesn't make sense. And I'm not crazy about their attitude, especially his. I'm not sure about hers yet, but especially his. But if you think you're going to parlay that into a monetary award, you are wrong, because I do not believe this evidence, which is a 2-week-old diaper that you kept in a pail in her room and happened to open it up and found within the diaper that your husband said he changed on the 9th of January, a blue needle that he overlooked. I don't buy it.
It was
My
very-
problem is that 3 weeks later or 2.5 weeks later, when you found this, you took your child to the emergency room? Mm-hmm. What date did you take the child to the emergency room?
The 29th.
29th. So what you're telling me is you didn't see the problem on the 9th.
Yes, we did.
Well, show me what you did.
I took her to my doctor for shots. 2 days later, she had a date for shots. There's red marks on the
Let
buttocks.
me see. Let me see. 2 days later, let me see what the report says. Well, infant.
Red marks on
Red
buttock.
mark on buttock. That's not what your husband just told me. Your husband told me that she had needle punctures on her labia. Listen, what do you think? I was born yesterday. Your case is dismissed. They may have not been good neighbors, and they may have done a lot of things that were nasty to you, but you're not going to parlay that. My only problem is you did take the child 2.5 weeks later to an emergency room where somebody found a needle prick on the child. My question is, how did it get there 2.5 weeks later when it wasn't on the doctor's report 2 days after what you allege is the incident?
Because she's
that
been putting-
causes me a great deal of concern.
They've
Not
been in our
from
laundry
them,
more than
but
one
from
time.
you. Your case is dismissed.
Your Honor,
Step out.
please.
Out.
Thank you.
Oh, that's...
I didn't put the lancets in the washer or the dryer.
They just started turning psycho and messing with our cars, cutting our vehicles up, all kinds of stuff.
We've lived there 8 years, never had a problem with anybody until they moved in.
I think because they're just really jealous. Their kid's autistic, unfortunately.
So does that mean I'm jealous of every normal child in this world? I don't think so.
He used to tell us all the time, oh, you're so lucky to have a healthy baby. She's so beautiful. She's so this, she's so that. And I think there was a fine line between jealousy and hatred.
That's just a farce. I mean, they're just reaching, you know. Desperate people will do desperate things, you know, and they're desperate.
Sarah Gardner is suing her former live-in boyfriend, Aaron Zaleski, for rent and a loan to pay a traffic fine. Aaron is countersuing for the unpaid balance on an apartment lease.
Everybody. Yeah, this is case number 403 on the calendar in the matter of Gardner versus Zaleski. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
Ms. Gardner, you and Mr. Zaleski lived together for a period of time. It is your claim that he owes you for some old bills, some rent, and fines. Mr. Zaleski says that he agreed, when the two of you parted ways, to a restraining order issued in your favor. And sort of as a quid pro quo, you agreed to take on the responsibility of the bills and the house and the lease, etc. Is that right, sir?
That's correct, Your Honor.
As far as the fines were concerned, he says he never borrowed any money from you. So, when did you live together?
From July of 2003 through the end of June 2004.
And did you both sign a lease?
The first year, his credit wasn't good enough, so I was the only person on the lease for the first year. There were 2 leases involved.
Do you claim that he owes you any money from the first lease?
Yes.
So if he owes you money from the first lease, why did you sign another lease with him?
Because the first lease, I was giving him an opportunity to get back on his feet. He wasn't paying rent from his first place. His roommates were kicking him out. So we had the agreement that he would pay me back if I gave him the opportunity to get back on his feet.
But he didn't do that. He didn't pay you back. And he didn't pay his other roommates back.
Correct.
And despite that, you signed yet another lease with him.
At that time, he was an investment. I had already lent
He's
him.
a bad investment. That
Correct.
means you had bad judgment.
I did.
So now let's start out with lease number 2, because I'm not interested in lease number 1. When did you sign the second lease?
In May of 2004.
Did you sign the lease too, sir?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Very good. And how much was the rent?
My share was $505 a month.
Is that right?
He's correct.
Okay. Did you pay it?
I paid for the first month that I lived there.
How many months did you live there?
Well, 17 days after we moved into the apartment, she informed me that she wanted to end our relationship, and she instructed me that I was to go out and get my own apartment and take care of myself on my own.
So you're telling me that you paid May's rent?
Actually, we moved in, the lease started June 1st.
You mean the landlord gave you a freebie for May?
We moved in at the end of May. They gave us a few free days at the end of May to move in.
Okay. And he moved out when?
The last weekend in June.
Did you pay June's rent?
Yes, I did.
Show me.
I paid all but $30 of it. I have it all documented.
Let me see. Jack. What are these things, these receipt things?
Those were receipts that I was giving a copy to her every time I made a payment to her.
Excuse me?
Excuse me? Did you ever see these before?
No.
Of course not. He does nice tabs, but Mr. Zaletsky, what you're trying to tell me is that the woman that you were sleeping with every night, you would give her a receipt if you gave her $40. I just want you to see if that's what you're trying to tell me.
After this process, probably.
What does that mean? After this process, probably. I want to know, sir. You were living with her?
Not at the time the payments were made.
Oh.
Those were made after she had kicked me out of the apartment.
Did he give you money after he
No.
was kicked out of the apartment?
No.
Of course not. By the way, do you have a checking account?
No, not right now.
Did you?
Did I have...
Ever have
Yes.
a checking account?
Yes.
Let me
and
see.
It was from October 2003 to May 2004. Those are all payments made for bills and to Sarah Gardner, check duplicates, and bank statements.
Why don't you have a checkbook anymore, sir?
Because the balance that I had at this bank account was overdrawn, and I did not have time to open up a new banking account.
So you had an overdrawn bank account because you didn't have any money?
Correct.
And yet you were giving her money for some old bills, according to you, that going back to 2003. Is that what you're telling me?
She can be very demanding, Your Honor.
Uh-huh. Okay. 505 you owe her for June because you have no payment here for June, other than the yellow little receipts that I don't believe. Yeah, you can give this back to him. He's got nice color. He did a nice job here, I must say. This is a very, very nice job.
Not as good as she did lying.
Sir, you don't understand. There is no payment for June's rent.
I have the original cash ledger with every payment that I gave her.
I'm not interested in 2003. If she was dumb enough to sign up with you again after you owed her, allegedly, all this money from 2003, that's her problem. That comes under the category of being dumb. I'm just talking about June 2004's rent. And if you can show me that you paid $505 for June 2004's rent, I'll give you credit for it.
Well...
Can you or can you not?
The total amount of rent due from the first lease...
I'm not interested in the first lease.
I overpaid her, Your Honor.
Listen to me.
No.
Show me a check for June's rent.
I cannot do that.
All right. Now, what about this fine, Miss Gardner? When was it? What was it for?
In October of 2003, he got his license taken away. It was for an old parking ticket he didn't pay for. In May of 2004, he wanted to get his license back. He had about $1,300 in fines. The only actual evidence I could come up with that I paid was $475. I know there was more, but I have evidence for $475 of those fines.
Can I see it, please?
Yes.
What about these fines, Mr. Zaletsky?
That was money loaned so we could get those cleared up so we could...
We. I don't understand the we. Who got the tickets?
I did.
So when did it become a plural, we, so that we could clear them up?
When we were moving on to the next chapter in our relationship and our lives after she graduated college and we were moving to Madison.
They're your fines. Why should she pay them?
She offered.
Because he promised to pay me back.
Of course he did. Do we have a new boyfriend, Miss Gardner?
Yes.
Does he have a job?
Yes, he does.
Does he pay his own way?
Yes, he does. And then some.
Good. Well, at least you learn.
Real quick.
Eventually.
Right. Learn from our mistakes.
Okay. Now, you, sir, say that she agreed to sort of swallow hard with regard to this entire debt if you consented to a protective order, even though you really weren't harassing her, right? Mm-hmm. So let's start with the fact that she signed up for a protective order because you were bothering her.
Yes.
You were summoned to court.
Mm-hmm.
You consented to the order.
Correct.
Show me where she said, I will assume all of the responsibility.
Can I just say something?
I want to look at it. You can say whatever you want after I look at his
See,
evidence.
it's the last sentence on page 2 and
Yes.
page 3. She stated it twice, Your Honor.
I'm going to look at it. So. Oh, what she says is, Aaron owes me several $1,000s, but I'm willing to cut my losses to get him out of my life.
Correct.
Well, she is cutting her losses, sir. She says you owe it several $1,000s. I just cut it down for you to $980.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today, ex-boyfriend Aaron Zaleski owes for breaking an apartment lease. Aaron says Sarah told him to move out.
Now let's get to your counterclaim.
Okay. Sarah Gardner kicked me out on June 17th, 2004.
Sarah Gardner, according to you, told you that she thought it was time for you to get out of the apartment, correct?
Actually, it was a trial separation where I got my own apartment and she had her own apartment, but we were still trying to continue to be friends. There were instances where she even cooked me dinner a few nights, watched movies after I was gone.
Listen, not Oprah. What's your counterclaim about?
My counterclaim is to make up the difference in rent accrued in the apartment since she got evicted and kicked me out. I signed the lease along with her mother as a co-signer, and the rent currently due is $4,985, and I am requesting half of that amount, which is $2,492.50.
Why? Who's suing you?
They will be suing as soon as the apartment is re-rented. She jumped the gun and decided to sue before it was closed.
Your counterclaim is premature, sir.
So would her claim be then too, wouldn't it?
No, sir. You lived there in June. Your behind was in the bed in June. You didn't pay the rent, so you owe her for that. You gathered up hundreds and hundreds of dollars in fines. She paid them. That is not something in futuro. The fact that you think that the landlord may come after you for unpaid rent for the lease that you signed is speculative. Do I make myself clear?
Clear.
Counterclaim is dismissed. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $980. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Say one more thing. Look up. Look up. Say thank you, God.
Thank you, God. Honestly, I'm just glad that it's over. I hope I never have to see him again.